Only two things scare me, and one is nuclear war.
What's the other?
Excuse me?
What's the other thing that scares you?
Carnies.
Welcome to another episode of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, Alias the Guy. Well, there was a presser held today, and of course, Carney's trying to fill the airwaves with more liberal verbal diarrhea. We're going to break down a little wee bit of that, but we're going to get to what the actual pertaining issue is today, which is, why haven't you fired the Liberal MP who literally told China state media and their supporters to kidnap your rival, take him in for a bounty for him to be hauled to China and executed? This is beyond me, but this just proves how linked Carney and the Liberal Party are, which I have been exposing, and I still have, like I said, terabyte and a half of documents that ties all of this in. It's just a matter of finding all of the right. It's got to be fact. I can't just throw names out there. I'm not going to throw accusations out there. I need it to be fact. Let's dive right into this Carney interview, his presser, and then question and answers. This is an absolute just embarrassment that people are actually thinking of voting Liberal once again.
Above all, what we need to do is fundamentally reimagine our economy. We need to build a new Canadian economy, a more resilient economy that can succeed in what will be a drastically different world. We need to build that economy so that it works for everyone. Now,
okay, is that so?
The anti-U.S. rhetoric is being stirred up by Carney because his party
that's right.
devastated the country over the last 10 years. And the only way he can stay in power is to convince people he's the solution against Trump. So the rhetoric has never been hotter. And of course, he's 5 weeks away from an election. So he'll stir the pot any way he can. But let's not forget where Carney came from. He is a global elitist. He's a supporter of carbon taxes. He said he'll remove them from consumers, but he's going to double down on business in Canada, and that decimated. You got to remember, Canada actually only grew under the Liberal Party 1.4% in 10 years. The economy's been wiped out. One of the reasons Canadians can't go to Florida is his party wiped out the value of the dollar, down 41%. Canadians can't afford to go to Disneyland anymore. So Carney's doing it the very best he can to say, look, I will save you against Trump, and he throws the rhetoric out every day against him. A man named Pierre Poilievre, who's also trying to be elected as a conservative. They're both in a crazy rhetoric, an anti-American rhetoric, that will go away the minute this election's over. He will get on a plane, whoever wins, fly to Washington, and start working on what I call NAFTA 3, which is the right thing to do. I might add that Senator Kennedy in Louisiana gave an eloquent presentation about why tariffs between Canada and the United States should be zero. I listened to it. It made a whole lot of sense to me, and I think it'll make a lot of sense to the Canadian people as well as soon as this election is over. Will Carney win? Who knows? But he's backtracked like crazy on all the Liberal parties. Whether people trust him or not will be the determination, because he certainly was he advised Trudeau for the last 5 years. And so the idiot king is gone, but is Carney any better? Nobody knows yet.
Well, let me get your...
He's not any better, and they know this. They know this. Let's listen to a little bit of this idiot and his so-called new policies.
Build Canada Homes will build deeply affordable and middle-class housing, single-family homes, high-rise apartments, and everything in between. And on top of creating that entity, that new structure, Build Canada Homes, the second part of our plan is to drive growth by making the housing market itself work better. Taxes and regulations have been choking the industry and making it difficult, in some cases impossible, to build. Canadians are paying the price. That's why, for the next 5 years, my government will cut development charges, taxes on home building in half for all multi-unit housing.
Now, you listening to what he's saying? On one hand, you have Polyev, who wants actual homes built. He wants people to be able to invest in homes because it is the best security that a citizen can have for future retirement and to save money. Once your house is paid off, you don't have that bill anymore. Your investment grows. And then when you retire and go to downsize, it gets recycled back into the free economy for another young couple to be able to purchase. And then you have people like this commie, this China-loving commie. They would rather take us another however many 40, 80 billion dollars in more debt to give, to free up space and to help investors build multiplex and huge apartment buildings for long-term rent. Who's going to make the money? We're going to pay investors to make money for Canadians to never own a home. These people are absolutely bonkers. Fascist, communist ideology. This is a banker. He knows how to make money. You make money off other people's debt. You make money off the brow and backs of civilians, of us peons. This is why our housing market has gone to crap. Number one reason, and he, Carney, brought this Weissman on his team. Listen very carefully to what is coming.
Century Initiative is still perceived by some as only focusing on the goal of growing the population to 100 million by 2100. Let me be clear. I still believe in the viability of that goal.
Well, first, let me thank the Globe and Mark Wiseman, Century Initiative, everyone for this very timely discussion. And
Century.
He even says during this speech that vetting them is irrelevant. Why? The faster we bring them in, the better. It's good for who? It's good for the multimillionaires. It's good for the corporations. This is socialism at its peak. Psychotic fascism blown out into the new world order. These people are like they smoke way too much money crack. The amount of suffering of people that these guys profit off of, they should be ashamed. And the media, crickets. Let's move on to a little bit more of Mr. Carney. This guy is absolutely on crack.
In some cases, impossible to build. Canadians are paying the price. That's why, for the next 5 years, my government will cut development charges, taxes on home building in half for all multi-unit housing. That's $40,000 off the cost of a two-bedroom apartment just south of here in Toronto. We'll fund new housing infrastructure to cover the lost revenue, while expecting provinces and territories to do the same.
Now, this is Trudeau's housing plan on steroids. This is Trudeau's housing plan. The incoherent jumble that is the Liberal housing plan. Now, this goes all about and like completely destroys Trudeau's housing plan. He was even warned before they put it out by every single advisor on the board that this was the stupidest goddamn thing you could possibly want to do. And he did it anyways. Because it's all sound bites. And when you've got the propaganda arm, you could sell thesis wrapped donuts if the people will buy them up, if the media says they're good. In the end, I liked the way that they actually deduced between the three parties whose plans were actually good ideas. And I read all these plans, and the writer is exactly right. So who's got the best plan? In short, the NDP plan is pitching the level of investment necessary to address the crisis. Problem with that is, again, they wanted more of it to be done in high density housing, which doesn't help the pocketbooks of Canadian citizens. The Conservatives are proposing a thoughtful and detailed way to correct the market more broadly and incentivize supply from the private sector, which is the proper way to help citizens get out of debt and achieve home ownership before they die. And the Liberals are running on an absolutely abysmal record, augmented by a Frankenstein's monster of a policy book that reads like a pale facsimile of their competitors' ideas, one that seems intent on worsening the crisis, not fixing it. That is spot on to what Trudeau was doing. This is fascism, people. They don't want you to own a home. They want you to be a lifelong renter. All of these people own or are invested in housing investment firms. They want to make money off the backs and brows of hardworking Canadians. You will own nothing and you will be happy. This is the reality. Now, this was a big bombshell that I dropped a while ago. Other outlets have been kind of getting on this as well. Sam Cooper blew the lid off of this. Carney and Trudeau were found to be heavily linked to Beijing WF and new expose. This is I have penetrated more than 50% of the Liberal Party. The psychotic, absolutely psychotic Klaus Schwab. These are globalists. Everything you need is right here in this standard. Or you can go to previous episodes that I have where I expose it. I put all my homework in the description. You can read the entirety of these articles. They are literally tied to China. They are literally tied to the WEF. Where's the mainstream? Crickets. Propaganda arm. And let's not forget about this.
Brings me to Mark Carney and Brookfield Asset Management, the person who has been touted as having the solutions to our economic challenges. And yet Mark Carney is very much the poster person for the broken system, the hollowing out of Canada that has made us so vulnerable today. Mark Carney has a clear track record of pushing for wealth accumulation for the rich at the expense of workers and Canadian communities. A 2023 report from the Centre for International Corporate Tax Accountability and Research called Brookfield Canada's top tax dodger.
Top tax dodger.
Which brings me to Mark Carney. And
top tax. Think about this, people. There was hardly any coverage of her presser when she released this. She got 2 questions, they buried it under the rug, and they kept pushing Carney. This alone should have had him removed from the Liberal Party leader, let alone our Prime Minister. He should have been forced to step down. And then we find out that he went and did a backdoor deal for $250 billion while he was working for the Trudeau government in secretive dealings with China. Again, where's the transparency? Where's the media? Nothing. Now listen to this bozo protect his Chinese puppet masters. You just can't make this stuff up. These guys are evil.
Mr. Carney, Rafael Canyon, CBC News. It's not just opposition parties calling for Mr. Chang's resignation. It's also at least 13 civil society groups. What message are you sending to Canadians who are worried about pressure from China?
Listen to his attitude. Oh, he's getting tired of getting asked. Oh, he's getting mad. Look at him. Look at this pompous ass. And there's rumors coming out. There's whispers coming out from a lot of people within the staffers of the Liberal Party that are saying this guy has got a serious attitude problem. He thinks of himself as a god. And everybody else, get on your knees and kiss his feet. Do you really want that type of a dictator with those types of policies, knowing how corrupt he is to China as our prime minister? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. People need to see this.
When you allow him to stay on, and how can you credibly criticize Pierre Poilievre
He's
for his
changing
lack
color.
of security clearance when Mr. Chang is considered a worthy candidate?
Well, the first thing, I can very credibly criticize the leader of the opposition for being at 930 days running and not having a security clearance. I will say as well, in the course of my responsibilities, current responsibility,
Now, let's hear this one more time so that everybody out there, especially if you're new viewers, you understand what the NSICOP is. Listen carefully.
Understanding the posture Mr. Poilievre had taken at the time. Do you think the position is as tenable today as it was then?
I made the same comments to your colleague Todd this afternoon on CTV News Channel. I agree completely with Pierre Poilievre on this. I believe he is completely right. You do not accept to play this mugs game where you restrain your ambit and your ability to act as leader of the official opposition, which is a constitutional role to hold the government to account. And this game where you have people in the hierarchy of the security establishment saying, oh, he really should come in, but then he's not allowed to talk about it anymore. Really? Didn't we just have a commission of inquiry headed up by Madame Justice Hogue, who put all of this stuff away and said there might have been a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but all of a sudden we're talking about whether Poilievre actually got the 68%. What, maybe it was 67%? I mean, this is madness, to try to make this an issue in a campaign that is so serious for the country, to try to go back to this stuff and to try to complain about Poilievre wanting to do his constitutional duty. He wants to do his job of holding the government to account. And no, he's not going to walk into that bear trap that consists of getting a security clearance, seeing documents that could be important and not talking about it. By the way, when I was leader of the opposition, Vashi, a certain Stephen Harper would call me personally. His staff would give me a setup, called me once during a wedding reception and said, I've got to talk to you. And it was Harper himself saying, look, there's this and this and this that's going to roll out in the next few days. It's going to be in the news. I want you to know about it. That's what a prime minister does with his or her leader of the opposition. You talk. Nobody had to make me swear.
Former NDP leader laying truth bombs out. And he keeps repeating himself, and he's like, I can't believe you guys are, like, why are you guys even running this? This is embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing. Now, how much corruption? Like I said, I've got 26 names that I'm chasing. I knew Paul Chen was on that list. I knew he was. I was just waiting for the right evidence so I could start laying it all out there, which I did on a previous episode. I've got others. Jolie is involved in this. There are hundreds of pictures and evidence out there proving that she's been coercing with all of these Chinese officials. They're all corrupt. Minister Jolie and Ng couldn't win the war against foreign interference as the home team. Who are the intel actors you're standing with? Zhang Yaodeng and Peng Zhaowei. Both of them are on the wanted list down in the United States. And from what I actually just got an email about right when I was just getting ready to start recording this, it sounds like they actually started arresting. And now they're putting out worldwide warrants for a lot of these people. I've got to go over all the documentation and find out if these people are on that list. The Liberal Party is corrupt. You have old liberals from 10, 12, and further years ago that are coming out trying to plead with Canadians. Do not vote these liberals in. Look at what they have done to the country. They have zero Canadian values. They are not a liberal party. They are a communistic, socialistic, knocking and opening the door to fascist government. Real liberals. Not these fake posers. They're all corrupt. And we know Ng's corrupt. Let's move on. I'm not even going to deal with that. They got a petition out. There's a whole bunch of people they want them gone. They want them gone.
Pierre Poilievre for his lack of security clearance when Mr. Chang is considered a worthy
Competitive housing market in this country. Thank you.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney, Laurence Martin de Radio-Canada.
For some reason, I got some major internet issues
Je comprends l'objectif.
And mainly Hong Kong democracy that right.
Je suis d'accord avec l'objectif.
Mr. Carney, I'd like to press you a little bit more on Paul Chang. He lives in a riding that is 70% diverse, people of color. Half of that are people of Chinese ethnic origin, and of that population, about 20% are from mainland China. The question that people from Hong Kong
look at what he's doing. Look at his body
have asked
movement.
me to ask is,
listen to his breathe. He's having a hard time because even mainstream can't hide this. And there's a few of them out there that are starting to stand out. And this one, believe it or not, Asian descent, is the only reason I believe she's actually going out beyond what her reigns have been trying to force her to do and speaking up.
whether or not you are putting appeal to those voters who may support the policies of China ahead of the democratic rights and safety of dissidents who have called Canada home, and mainly Hong Kong democracy activists who now live in Mr. Chang's riding?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stand foursquare for rights, foursquare for our position, our very strong position vis-a-vis China, respect for Canadian citizens, all rights of Canadian citizens, irrespective of whether they hold dual citizenship or not, to be absolutely clear. And
how can he even say that? He's got 13 civil groups coming out, calling him out, let alone the fact that this has gone global. They already hate Canada because of what Trudeau did. All the lies about India. We are a propaganda arm of China. We have become their geopolitical tool to advance their cause, especially on India. How can he even say that? If anybody else were to go, like, literally and say, you should kidnap that guy and take him to the consulate so that you can collect a bounty and they can ship him to China and have him executed, you'd be charged. And yet, nothing. The police aren't doing anything. Oh, right, they're too busy protecting all the Hamas protesters that are on the streets. Right.
Mr. Chang has long history of service to that community, history of protecting those rights. Mr. Chang is well aware of these issues, including having family in Hong Kong.
How can he be an effective representative for them when they no longer trust him after he said this? The question, as you know, Mr. Carney, you know that Canada has executed 4 Canadians this year.
China.
You know that there are human rights activists in China in detention right now. How can Mr. Chang, how can your party keep him as a candidate,
look at his color,
knowing this context?
Mr. Chang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment. He's apologized for his comments. He's apologized directly to me. He's apologized directly to the individual. He has a long record of service. He's going to continue his candidacy. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Okay. This guy's a jackass. Now, how big is propaganda? The whole time you're thinking he's in a room right full of people. There he is. Collectively grab everybody together, pan cameras down to darken the back so nobody can see, pan the lighting down on everything on the forefront in order to give scope and depth, and then push the camera in to make it look like there's thousands or hundreds of people in there. There's nobody there. I didn't see a scuff on a single hard hat. Nada. If any of these people came up to one of my job sites and asked for work and said they had experience, I literally would have to start laughing. and double checking their resume. Because looking at them, none of them could hold a hammer. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Propaganda 101, people. Propaganda 101.
Mr. Chang is well aware of these issues.
After campaigning as Captain Canada, Mark Carney is standing behind a candidate who parroted Chinese communist talking points.
He's made his apology. He made it to the public. He made it to the individual concerned. He made it directly to me. And he's going to continue with his candidacy. Thank you.
The apology coming from Paul Chang, the MP and Liberal candidate in Markham Unionville, who proposed turning in Conservative candidate and Chinese pro-democracy advocate Joe Tay to the Chinese consulate in Toronto to claim a bounty put on him by Hong Kong police.
I am deeply offended by those comments. As I said, they're terrible lapse of judgment.
Unbelievable.
I view this as a teachable moment.
Why you need to teach someone not to say that confounding to this democracy advocate.
Teaching moment without consequences is not good enough. People have to pay the price.
Chuck Kwan's organization, one of 13 Chinese diaspora groups, now calling on the Liberals to replace Chang, which they can until April 7th, something the Conservatives and the NDP seem to support.
He's putting his party ahead of his country in that case. I think that's wrong. And I think Canadians should find that wrong as well.
Global News went to Chang's campaign office for comment, but he wasn't there. Tay also didn't respond to an interview request, but did post a statement saying Chang's apology was not sufficient and that he'd previously been speaking with the RCMP regarding his safety.
More traditional.
Something raised by the special government committee that monitors foreign election interference.
Spreading again the information about the bounty is precisely how malign foreign states seek to silence, harass, and coerce.
Now, what she said is correct. By Carney not tossing him, they are allowing this issue to get louder and louder, and other diaspora are hearing this and setting fear. By not firing him, he is exasperating. He is using a loudspeaker for China to spread fear all across Canada. Think carefully about this. He's working for the commies. He's working for China. By not firing him, by being un-Canadian, he's pretty much telling all the diaspora in those communities that have dealt and fled and run and have family in China that I'm not going to defend you. I'm not going to protect you. Fear tactics. Fear, hate, and division. She nailed it.
Chang was not one of the Toronto area MPs who flanked Carney today, but one who did was miffed by the comments.
It's above my pay grade. I haven't talked to Paul about it in the same way the Prime Minister has. They're absurd. How could someone possibly have said these things? I have no idea what he was thinking.
Despite the calls to remove Chang, Carney seems to be standing behind the candidate, taking the Liberal campaign off the message they want the election to be about: who's best to deal with Donald Trump. Mackenzie Gray, Global News.
Absolutely embarrassing. Welcome to China. You literally, you can't become any more, there's no more evidence that could be laid forward to show how corrupt and infiltrated the Liberal Party is than what's going on right now. This is just beyond shocking. And I've exposed piles already in the past. But like this, I thought for sure, like, they're going to skid him. They're going to try and move past it and just keep on with this Carney. I'm as good as it is that he hasn't done it, because it's exposing, and now mainstream is forced because of little media like us who actually started pushing this story days ago. But it's sad because all of these scare tactics are now being, like I said, blown out of proportion and is going to affect everybody of Asian descent, of Chinese descent in Canada. It's a sad, sad state of affair. It really is. And with more coming out about all the corruption and Carney's backdoor dealings between China and the WEF and Brookfield, and there's people who are actually going to vote for these liberals. Think about that. You got to be patient. You got to show them the truth. Don't be ignorant. Don't be hard. Don't be like most of these card holders. Don't deal with the ones that just are, they la la la, and they're going to walk away. Just ignore them. Don't push the buttons. Let them burn their Teslas. Let them do what they always do, violence and rhetoric and hate and racism and misogynism. That's what they are. They are exactly what they try and accuse regular Canadians of being. Let them be there. But there's all of the others who are they just don't know. They just don't know. Those are the ones you need to be Canadian with. Patient. Open. Discuss. Show them the evidence. It's the only way we're going to remove this socialist and complete, this government has to go. It's going to do, like I said, you just got to get out there, make sure that you're, if you can help in any which way, pounding signs, record. Make sure that you check when you get back home if your sign has been tampered with. Go over the video if you have a Ring or whatever they are, all these different types of cameras. And if you do, send them in to media outlets like myself and others so that we can get it out and expose these people for what they are. It's the only way we're going to do it. We're going to do it being Canadian. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And if you are, punch the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, this is the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm Alias Tagai. Stay informed.